what to do, YouTube. You notice that I'm not looking at you as far as this first gonna happen. I'm just kind of off in La La Land, but never mind that. I'm Trollface, if you didn't know, if you can't tell by my beauteous mug here as far as those pictures can happen. So I had extra thoughts on my mind as far as those fairs can happen. Just things off in troll land as far as those particular fairs can happen. I flip on the television every now and then. It's over there. It's not on right now, but just in the pitch as far as saying, sometimes I do watch the goings on to kind of find more things to troll as far as those pitches kind of happen. It's particularly easy to notice that the world is kind of in a rut. Now, terribly, do I care that much? I can say something like that as far as those first. I'm still not looking at y'all, still doing the side eye stuff, but just in the pitch as far as saying, I look after here, just within the pitch as far as saying, sometimes some of these types of situations are just within the doofiness aspect of it that you just have to be able. Now, I'm not going to chuckle because I realize that some of these are kind of low blows given the situation. I'm a troll, but I'm not going to troll to that extent because you have to have class with it as far as those fairs going to happen. Would I, when you look at me as a troll face, would I nut tap someone like that? I just don't think the necessity behind it really has the aspect. But just being able to say some of the doofiness that's been kind of going on, I felt like this shedding a spotlight on that so you can see some of the stuff. It's going to be funny, but just laugh as it were. Pay more attention to me making fun of these situations more so than the full boundness. But looking after here, so there is this, just me being able to look after it. There's like this, maybe you've heard of this particular type fellow, this Abrego Garcia, some type folk that particularly got caught up. He's a particular person who lives here that got transported to some type prison like Guantanamo Bay, despite the fact that he didn't really have much to do with anything. They're thinking that he was apparently a part of some particular game that he had no affiliation with. And the particular concept about it is he was trying to apply for a job back in like the late 2010s to work at Home Depot and then wound up getting arrested for that. And then they thought that that was an oversight because they didn't want to send him to El Salvador back in those days. So now they're going to. Now they're going to because the rules have changed. Now, originally that was during Trump's tenure, but now it's his new tenure, and it's just kind of within the pitch as far as saying we're changing our mind about it. So it's just kind of the pitch as far as saying there's just been some crinkles and kind of snafus of situations. Because the basic concept of it is there was nothing wrong with it. Just to say, long story short, from what I pay attention with the news goings on as far as those fairs going to happen, it just basically felt like the guy tried to get a job at home. The guy tried to get a job at Home Depot. They arrested him. They didn't deport him because they didn't want him to get in trouble. And they said, well, there's something fishy about that. So it's this kind of situation. So they sent him to a horrid prison. I look after it here as far as those aspects kind of happen. So what I would think of this situation as far as saying, you've got to be in a pretty bad way for there to be undercovers at like a Home Depot as far as those first can happen. I just don't know how you trigger something like that or something fishy comes up or trying to apply for a job and work at Home Depot or you're going to be selling people like screwdrivers and things like that, simple kind of things, and they say something fishy about this dude. I don't know. I just don't trust it. And that kind of happens to be a thing. I just would say here, if you want my public opinion as to what probably tripped their trigger, I'd say they were probably thinking it's suspicious that he didn't want to buy a mile worth of fencing. When he was in that interview, it was probably the concept that he didn't ask and offer and inquire about some of their products. He probably didn't know a thing about them, but I'd say it's just unfortunate. You have to know about the job as far as those fairs going to happen. Probably didn't know their national anthems. Just kind of within the pitch as far as saying that this triggers something. You can't work at Home Depot if you don't know 100% of their details. So something happened. As a result, trying to get a job, trying to earn them some money, he wound up getting booked. Hate to say it, folk, but it's kind of, not going to be an ask of this with the pitch. I mean, understand I'm troll face. I think you can tell I would say these things pretty aspectedly, but you get the tone. But then upon that, getting sent to prison. So I look after here just being able to say, I've paid attention to that prison, seen it on television. They make those people, they shove their heads down like you're getting some fellatio, some of those types of pitches just in the fair as far as that particular kind of happens. They're having to eat their own bodies out just with the pitch as far as those aspects can happen. It's just kind of oh ho 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 ho. Just very you look after, but it's not for them. Just understand the concept of that, just paying attention to that. But I would have to say maybe that prison could get, it's not necessarily a very delightful type place, I'd have to say, just with the aspect behind it. And this place is where I live is not that delightful considering the concept that acidic roots, just lives off of water and bananas, some of those type bears. But I look after, they have like 50 people to a cell. They don't really have beds or anything to really do, no recreation, no education, some of those types of things. Just from the pitch, that's just the concept. They don't believe in the word adore, I have to say, and I just look after it. I would say maybe that prison could use like at least some elevator music, something like that. I'd have to say their particular prison ensemble reminds of like training resumes for Richard Simmons if he didn't get his eighth espresso perfectly. It's just kind of within the pitch. Probably the sort of foul attitude he'd kind of have. You notice that Richard Simmons kind of had groups with him when he would do his training exercises, the same sort of pitch. Feel like it's just a nightmare ripped out of something out of 1974, something like that. You just look after it. Just all y'all wear the same clothing. You walk in like a fine step kind of march in motion. You all walk to a rhythm, pitches like that. Just kind of concept. All y'all just wave at the same time. You're all chained to the same chain. Some of those type pitches. You get the tone. Just Richard Simmons kind of nightmare fitness video within the pitch. Just eighth espresso. It's probably how nasty you would be if you didn't get it. Just what I had to say. It's just done now. No disrespect considering the concept of what happened with him. It's just with the pitch as far as saying RIP. But then just to say about that on top of that, just with an affair as far as saying when it comes to then just to say on top of that when it comes to Abrego Garcia, I think one of the reasons why they booked him in 2025 on top of that because they thought he was a gang member. And apparently they had said on like these pages that part of the reason why he was a gang member is because he was wearing, a hoodie and then he had a Chicago Bulls hat on, something like that. So it's kind of the concept. Gangs tend to have like affiliation, some of that type fare. So I thought I'd probably help them out as far as trying to distinguish what the Chicago Bulls really is, because maybe you just don't know as far as those fairs going to happen. Chicago Bulls are not gangs. They just wear the same uniform and use their influence to make a positive difference. No big deal, right? Just kind of the concept. And they tend to do all their activities in large groups. So some of that particular type fair, they have resumes and exercises that they do together and pitches like that. They tend to make a lot of money, and most of them are pretty large and towering. They tend to work out together. I don't know why they're getting in shape the way they are. We'll just suppose that their particular muscularity is just for modeling or something like that. Which even within that fashion, it makes you wonder how they got those gigs as far as those big companies. That's another story. But just being able to say just something to say within the Chicago Bulls type aspect. But I just look after here. So just a little bit of things to consider within the aspect of just what happens when Trollface watches the news. I look after it here. I mean, really, you have to say about this, just the cuckoo, it's kind of the cuckoo aspect about the particulars as to what's going on here. I don't know what to make of it. Acidic Roost doesn't either. Jack Goldkick doesn't either. It's just with the fish. None of these particular type fellows. I'm just probably going to go have a couple boxes of beer or something like that. But I just look after here, just being able to say, look after it. Something to kind of contemplate as you flip on the news within a good while and see some of these type pitches. So, and it's not just the Abrego Garcia cat. There's other folks. He was one of the more catching type ones, but just understand the aspect that some of these type folks are caught up within the particular prospect about it. El Salvador doesn't feel like a very jolly kind of place you'd want to put on a postcard, but I just would look after it here as far as saying, maybe the call attention, maybe just through Gab and things like that, we can kind of, maybe we could get some good PTA meetings going.